Hello everyone and welcome to the April 2021 Talking Team webinar. My name is Nilu Parvinashtiani and I'll be helping with the facilitation of today's webinar. So we at the National Operations Center of Excellence are very grateful of the Federal Highway team, Paul, Jim, and Joe who helped organize this Talking Team webinar series. But before we get started, I wanted to quickly mention that if you don't know already about the National Operations Center of Excellence, we offer resources to support the transportation system management and operations community. So on your screen right now, you see a useful links box, so feel free to browse through that for any TISMO resources and news. Additionally, you can see a download pod where we have shared a PDF of the presentations from the webinar today, so feel free to use that. Another logistical item I wanted to share is that we are recording the webinar, and that recording along with the presentations will be available on the on-demand learning section of the NOCO website. All the attendee phones are on listen-only mode by default, but please use the question discussion pod for any comments or any questions that you have. As the questions come to your mind, just type them in that chat pod, and we have a dedicated time at the end for Q&A with our moderator and our presenters. So with that, thank you, and I'll hand it over to our moderator, Paul Jordan, to start us off. Paul?
Well, thank you, Nilu, and thank you for your help in the National Center of Excellence participation in supporting us with this. And for those of you that don't know, Nilu is the ace in the hole that we have for these webinars. She really is very patient and very efficient, thank goodness. So we have an exciting agenda today, and I will but before I just wanted to say how much I enjoy seeing a lot of our friends and some new people that we don't know yet chiming in there in the chat pod. So feel free and feel free to, which many of you do anyways, to, if you have any questions or thoughts or anything else, just feel free to chat any thoughts or questions you have. Most of you know that already because most people on this call are not shy. So today we're focusing on local TIM programs, and as part of our Everyday Counts initiative. And after you hear from Jim Ostrich and then Joe Tebow, another member of our team, is going to sort of provide a reminder on what the Everyday Counts initiative, Next Gen TIM is. Just provide an overview, but one aspect of that is our interest in infiltrating further within the local communities, arterial TIM, even rural TIM. And so the programs today, the speakers today are set up for that. And so the first one we're going to have is Wisconsin, the TIME program. And why would we be having a state DOT talk about local programs? Well, because they actually have a good process for working and engaging the locals with their statewide TIM program. So Marquis Young and Michael Jungbluth, sorry, I butchered that name, sorry, is going to talk to us about that. We have two fine ladies from the city of Seattle, the TIM and Response Team Program. Seattle is, has stood up a TIM program over the last few years. We'll explain that out to you, but they do some very cool things at the local level. And the North Central Texas Council of Governments, Camille Fountain has been a TIM champion and facilitated TIM activities through that big area in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and is going to share some of the cool things that they do as well. I wanted to give a pitch for next month, May 26th. We're going to have a pretty good agenda as well. We're going to give you some information from Washington State DOT, the TIM program out there, and they're doing a really cool project for a virtual coordination center. Tony Lingley is going to I'm going to share that with you. We're going to give you some information. We've been doing our state calls, kickoff calls for the Everyday Counts, Next Gen TIM, and so we're going to give you just some of the things we've heard, and it's been really cool checking in with the states. We have 34 states that signed up, and we've heard some very good stuff. So we decided that it might be beneficial or of interest to folks to hear what some of the states are doing. We certainly won't share everything, but we'll give you a snapshot of what some of the states are doing, and we'll hear more and more about that as we're moving on. And then we hope Scott Yinger is going to do a video sharing on their video sharing program that they have with their responder vehicles, their chat vehicles, sharing video with the TMC. Very, very cool program. Scott doesn't know it yet, so don't tell him if he's not on. But if he can't make, I'm sure we can get somebody else. So with that, I will pass it on to my partner here at Federal Highway, Mr. Jim Ostrich, to give you a little bit of information on the program update at Federal Highway.
Hey, Paul, thank you much. And again, welcome everyone. It is fantastic to see a lot of the, as Paul mentioned, some new names, but I can tell from our kickoff meetings, as Paul mentioned, that the next EDC6 Next Gen TIM kickoff meetings that we've been having with the states, that our suggestion for them to join Talking TIM is working. So this is fantastic. We're approaching right now 200 attendees. So thank you for attending, and keep sharing the good news of the monthly Talking TIM. So as of April 12th, you can see here we're almost, over 523,000 responders trained. Thing of note that I wanted to make mention here, you guys have been listening as well in terms of promoting the web-based training. We're at, you see that 101,778, that calculates out, I believe, to 19-20% of the total. Of course, between NHI and our friends over at ResponderSafety.com, Emergency Responder Safety Institute, as well as other web-based versions from states. Overall, the web-based training is being utilized. Yes, there's states that are opening up and going back to in-person training slowly but surely, but the optional web-based trainings, as I always say, and will always mention to you as a good option. So the sad news, and this is very serious, we're tracking actually just a little above from where we were this year, 20 fatalities just yesterday, I believe. Our 11th law enforcement officer was struck and killed on the Long Island Expressway. He was struck by a drunk driver while directing traffic at a previous fatal crash. So keep that in mind. This is a big deal, folks, and as we always say, this is one of the reasons we do what we do, but this is just horrendous. This is just horrendous. So our prayers and thoughts are with all of them and their families. Thank you. So the national map, just a couple that I normally share, which, like this one, which shows the in-person training at 409,000, and with the web base, as I said earlier, 101,778. Keep doing what you're doing and pushing this training out, because we know it saves lives, time and money, and there's so much that we have going on nationally. Without you as leaders in your own rights, in your own states, doing all the things that you do, we would be in deep trouble. So a very worthwhile and great effort nationally. So thank you. This other map is we show the goal map for each state in our quest to that bottom number on the left, over 1,158,265 responders to be trained. I believe, and our team believes, it's actually more than this, but regardless, these are just estimates, and you guys are doing great work to achieve your individual state goals. And Paul, myself, and Joe, we're open to discussions if you want to revisit your number, because things change in terms of responders moving on and just attrition and so on and so forth. So glad to talk to you more about that. This statistic here, or bar chart, interesting. Law enforcement's is doing okay, but look at fire rescue. Over 60% of their goal, that total of 366, and that's a big deal. If you add EMS into it, it's a really big deal. So police is falling, it's going a little slower, but regardless, I just wanted to share this bar chart. I don't always share it, but towing is going pretty darn good as well. But remember, the number to the far right, my personal opinion is that those are low numbers. Next is some exciting news. I think we mentioned this in previous emails, or rather webinars, and in other circles, that Federal Highway, our Office of Operations, TIM program, Paul, Joe, and myself, through our contract support contract with Battelle HNTB. We're going to be offering 4 virtual train-the-trainer sessions, national train-the-trainer sessions. They're going to be based on the current curriculum, and we're doing this even though we're in the midst of an update to the curriculum. As most of you know, I'm sure, we've received a lot of inquiries to help states, garner or capture a couple of other, trainers, graduate them so they can help continue to spread the TIM training and offer classes. The announcement, as you can see here, is going to be a little, somewhat stringent. We just don't want states to, open it up to anybody. We want you all to consider who you would put forth as a attendee to one of these trainers. So you can see here by these bullets, and this is very, very important that you do so that you can somewhat, we believe, guarantee that that trainer is actually going to, train your forces in a multidisciplinary fashion, by the way, versus in a silo. But regardless, this is what the training announcement is going to stipulate. Next slide here. Here are the dates, or the options, if you will. We're trying to break it up between East Coast, West Coast, and then daytime and evening as well, because we know it's a best practice. There's a number of states, of those of you that aren't doing this, are really shuffling things around and aren't just trying to push the trainings or conduct the trainings, I should say, during daytime hours, Monday through Friday. So weekends and evenings are important and something for you to consider if you haven't already. And National Traffic Incident Response Awareness Week is coming up in November. Planning is underway, and you're going to hear a lot more of this in the coming webinars, so be ready. This is the old flyer, but we got some great things planned, and anyway, just be aware. Thank you, and you guys keep doing great things. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks, Jim. I just wanted to, I'm noticing our numbers of over 212 people participating today. That's exciting. That's great for us. So we're happy that you're all attending. And, just a reminder, when you receive those invitations, we're always looking to increase participation. So please share within your community, within your sphere of influence, those invitations, so we can keep sharing the best practices that are going on throughout the country. So next up is I think we've introduced. Some of you may know, may not know, Joe Tebow is a member of our team. He started with us last July. You'll be hearing more and more from him, hopefully. And we, if you can wrestle the microphone away from Jim and I, but if you can, so as I mentioned earlier, we're focusing on local programs aspect of NextGen TIM. And for those of you that don't know, the Everyday Counts period project is something that, long story short, allows Jim and I and Joe to have additional funding to support various aspects that we identified that Joe's going to identify. So we're looking to have those activities and continue advancing the state of the practice with the, not unlimited funding, but some extra funding that we have to move the nation forward with the state of practice of TIM. So with that, Mr. Joe Tebow.
Thank you, Paul. Howdy, everyone. As Paul just mentioned, I was asked to talk a little bit about the EDC6 NextGen TIM, where we're at with it, where we're going with it. I find myself when I start talking about NextGen TIM and the different innovations, my wife says I should wear one of those Billy Mays blue shirts. Everybody remember Billy Mays, right? Black hair, blue shirt, selling everything, right? Because I get really excited about it. And the map that's up in front, and we see that when we went out to EDC6 and asked states for their baseline assessment, and do they want to participate EDC6, and what you see in the blue are the states that all came back and said, oh yeah, we're looking to make a move. We want to advance in one or more areas. So all the blue that you see there are the folks that are going to take a shot at, and no doubt in my mind, make an advancement. The yellow states are states that are part of the program, but they're like, well, we're not looking to advance, but we really could use some assistance. So we're good with them too. So we're going to meet with all these folks, and at this point, I believe it's 23. I think my numbers are right. 23 kickoff meetings that we've had already to talk about the NextGen TIM and the different innovations that states chose. So we've got 10 or 11 left to go. But I can tell you the education to sit back and listen to the pure amazement of the different types and applications of traffic incident management that vary from one side of the state to the other end of the state, and then from Canada to Mexico. We've got all these different programs out there, but when you sit and you listen to them and you see how they fine-tuned it to meet their individual needs, it's amazing stuff that's going on out there. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. So the kickoff meetings, as Paul mentioned earlier, some of the folks that we're talking to at these kickoff meetings, we want to invite to the Talking Tims to tell their story, how they got to where they are and the challenges that they overcame. So, look forward to that, because we're certainly going to be inviting some folks from that. NextGen TIM, our focus area is, and we've heard it, and the theme is local roads. We're bringing traffic incident management down off the expressways out into the communities, so to speak. Call it arterial, call it back road, side street, call it the main drag. We're bringing traffic incident management out into the communities, and in order to do that, we have to take a look at the training. We have to evaluate the different types of resources as they change from moving from one entity to the next and one environmental area to the next. So, responder training, as mentioned earlier, there's some revamping, some upgrading, some updating to include some instructor knowledge for some of these innovations that we're going to talk about here today. So with that, using the TIM data being another aspect of of the Next Gen TIM. What do we mean with that? Well, I look at it like, the crowdsourcing data, the information that's out there. We just swim in information that's out there every day. And to be able to bring that in and harness that and utilize that for traffic incident management, whether it be quicker clearance times or to detour, to reduce queue, or to detect secondary crashes. The data that's out there, we're attempting to harness that, bring it in from its independent silos. A lot of it is in silos, but to bring it all together and to make it work for us. So using TIM data has multiple tentacles to it, but if you would. But that's one of the innovations of Next Gen TIM. And technology as a whole, right, proven yet underutilized. And there's a lot of it that's out there that's been used and is being used today that works remarkably. We just haven't moved into that arena yet, but that's where we're going. So the technology portion, computer-aided dispatch, is one of those innovations. To integrate that, where the 911 center dispatches a call and the TMC is automatically notified and information goes back and forth seamlessly. There are different levels of that occurring right now. Some very advanced, some just stepping into the arena and still picking up the phone to call each other to speak. But as we get the CAD systems and we're able to integrate that, it's seamlessly, and human intervention is minimal, yet we still get the resources and the information that we need, automated, so to speak. Some examples are case studies, fact sheets, guide documents, outreach, and other marketing materials. I like to emphasize that one right there because that's where
your microphone has been turned on.
Some of the connections and methods that we can help folks with because we know that someone else has faced the same challenge that you're facing, but here's how they overcame that. So some of the things that we can do. So with that, that's my real quick and down to the asphalt type of description of where we are with Next Gen TIM. I just want to say, local, right? Because a lot changes when you go from the expressways down into the communities with traffic incident management. And it's not seamless, if you would. It has to be well thought out. You have to have a plan. And right now, we're putting together a plan. And we're glad that you all are part of it. Before I leave here, pass it back to Paul. Reminder, it's National Work Zone Awareness Week. Spread the word, right? Slow down in the work zones. Be careful out there. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Paul. And thank you all so much for what you do.
Thanks, Joe. Good job. And thanks for the reminder about National Work Zone Awareness Week. Everyone at Federal Highway is wearing orange today. If you have orange, I threw all my vests away, orange vests away years ago. So, but many of us at Federal Highway and in the Office of Operations are actually wearing orange. And if you could see Jim's picture, he has a big orange shirt on today in respect for Work Zone Awareness Week. So next up is our friends from Wisconsin. Marquis has been a champion of the program for several years now, but the Wisconsin program goes back many years, actually. It's probably one of the earliest programs in the country. A lot of people don't realize that. They've always continued to make progress, and they've continued to be successful. And so they could talk about a lot of things, but today we're going to ask them to talk about how they go about engaging local partners. So with that, Marquis?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jim, and Joe, and the FHWA staff. I want to thank everyone for this opportunity, allowing Wisconsin to share with you this afternoon. Myself and Michael Jungbluth. It took me a while, Paul, too, to get used to the name as well. Michael Jungbluth. He's been with the department since 2017. Been working with the emergency transportation operation side of things, and recently just migrated over and working in dual roles with the ETO program, also with the TIME program. Took over for Dave Spakowitz recently. So we both will be sharing today. And so looking at engaging the local partners in Wisconsin. So we just want to highlight a couple of things that we're doing here in Wisconsin. And so our state, and look at like the hand of the nation, is broken up into 5 regional departments or regions across the Wisconsin DOT. We have 72 counties, and one thing we rely heavily on the local, that Wisconsin DOT doesn't own any trucks or any maintenance vehicles, but our county highway departments do. And so we contract with our county highway for the maintenance, for snow plowing, and for when there's an incident, for any type of barricades or signs, we will call our county highway department with that. And so go to the next slide. So our approach when we look at emergency transportation operations, the ETO program, that we look at it as pretty much like most states are all hazard, whether it's a fender bender or whether it's some kind of load closure or maybe a blizzard to a large scale that leads to a multi-operations flow that may take weeks or may take months to clear up as far as with emergency events. We do have 3 areas, actually it's 4, that's on call around the clock, and we have our regional duty officer that is our management, which is our section chiefs and our directors in the regions, and then our REMCs, which is the regional incident management coordinators. Those are the engineers. We have structures. Also, we have maintenance and traffic engineers that's in the regions, that's pretty much the boots in the ground that deal with the day-to-day different incidents. And so if there's a large-scale emergency event, our regional duty officer and also our REMC, or regional incident management coordinator, may be in a separate structure for when we're dealing with emergency event, where we go into our ICS structure as well. And then the last on-call is the Wisconsin Highway Emergency Liaison personnel. And so that person is pretty much our liaison person for when the State Emergency Operations Center is activated, and they work with the Wisconsin Emergency Management, and they are the one that conduit getting us information back and forth between the emergency management and also with DOT, work with our TOC as well. And so our TIM, when we look at the traffic incident management, where we deal with our first responders, with the training and different things with the information getting out, and those are the ones that we work closely with.
This is Mike Jungbluth. Did we lose Marquis?
Yes, can you hear me? Yes, hello?
I'm hearing you loud and clear. I don't know who said that, but
Okay. And then also with our TMC, with the cameras and different technologies and different things of that nature. And so this is just a quick map, a diagram that we use, just pretty much to highlight the differences between our TIM program that deal with the planning, the incidents, and And those are the day-to-day incidents, and then as we're going on a larger scale, like blizzards and other national disasters and terrorist different things, as you see, the severity goes up when we're dealing with the emergency events. So that's just a quick background about our program. And so today we're going to talk about our TIME coalition. With that, and also talk about training for all types of incidents and events. And then we will talk about the dedicated, our 170 dedicated volunteer instructors for our 4-hour TIM class. And then we will talk about our regional TIME meetings across the state. And then we'll close it out with our outreach activities as well. And so first I just want to touch on our TIME coalition. We coined it, a slogan that we have, working together to make our roads safer for everyone. And so that is our state organizations, from our firefighters, our police chiefs, the Wisconsin DOT, our motor carriers, also the DPW group as well, and dispatch center, towing. And so it's a 19 organization that deals with the partners that's within those organizations, close to about 40,000 responders that this group are part of this 19 organizations that they reach. And so we use this as a vehicle to get information, different initiatives with training and different things that we have going on a larger scale. And so that's our TIME coalition. That's a statewide effort that we have here. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Jungbluth to take us further.
Sounds great. Thanks, Marquis, and Paul and everyone. Even to this day, Marquis struggles with my last name. It's Jungbluth. It's a German name. So, but by the time I retire a second time, I think Marquis will have it down pat. So, this particular slide here just is reflective of where we are within the state, and we're actually pretty proud of these particular numbers, especially our law enforcement and our fire numbers and our towing and recovery. As you can see, those numbers really are reflective of how we're working on a local level to get these local towns and villages and smaller agencies engaged in TIME in Wisconsin. We also have a great partnership as part of the member of the TIME Coalition with the Wisconsin Department of Justice and their Training and Standards Bureau. And several years ago, we were able to get the TIME program built into new officer candidate training across the state. So at our State Patrol Academy and all our technical colleges that do new officer training, this 4-hour program is now mandated by state to be completed for new officers. So it's a great thing to get these individuals, these new candidates, feet on the street, going to all different sizes of agencies and bringing TIM principles to those particular agencies. So we're very proud of our progress in that area. But as always, COVID-19 has given us a little bit of a curveball. You can see our impacts in what's reflected on this particular slide is classes, TIM classes that we've done over the years without the impact of COVID. So you can see some really significant numbers of, anywhere from 50 up to 75 plus classes that we've conducted on an annual basis for TIM training. This year, it's really been slowed, and last year was slowed, obviously, because of COVID. So far this year, we only have 12 classes scheduled, and that continues to be a challenge, especially with the vast majority of our classes that are scheduled on an annual basis on a non-COVID timeframe our new 60 to 65% are done by June 1st. And that obviously makes sense because of your summertime, your vacations, then you get into Wisconsin's deer hunting, and then you get into the holiday season. So there's less class offerings and there's less availability for, by our 170 volunteer instructors. So COVID still has its impact. I project that it's going to continue to have an impact on us through 2021. But we continue to progress, we continue to move forward. Although we're not opening TIM classes to outside participants, a lot of agencies have chosen to do in-house training. We still continue to move forward, and it's nice to see, I think, in the slide that previous where we were at now 43.2. Our goal, obviously, this year is to get to 45%, and then after that, we're going to create an internal goal of 50%, for total to be trained. So this particular slide gives you a little bit of an idea of us and how we reach out. One of the areas that we're really focusing on is our county highway departments. So far, we have 24 departments trained in TIM, and we continue to grow that within those particular county agencies. The other map that you see is there are some green highlighted counties. Those are counties that we have yet to get a class into, but we are actively pursuing that using what Marquis had talked about earlier. Our regional duty officers and our regional incident management coordinators are reaching out to their contacts within those counties and promoting TIM training for them. So we continue to use our DOT people as tremendous resources in getting down to the feet on the street to get the message moving forward on TIM training. So on March 1st, I took over the program manager roles for the two programs, the Emergency Transportation Operations Program and then the TIME program in the state of Wisconsin. So far this year, we've conducted classes for DOT region personnel, both winter preparedness training and also spring weather preparedness training was just completed about 3 weeks ago. Now we're into our regional TIME meetings, and I'm just giving you a little bit of a sample of the topics that are there. So these go out to, the TIME meeting invitations go out to, several hundred individuals, up to 1,000 individuals, and invite them to these particular exercises and meetings. And so the topics that we'll be going through for the next couple of weeks are, as you can see, med-flight helicopter landing zones, connected automated vehicles, autonomous vehicles for first responders, bridge hits, unified command, crash reconstruction and introduction to ECU units. We have an excellent presentation coming up on megaloads. And then Marquis has just completed some urban versus rural TIM training. So we continue to, with all our partners, push this type of training and these types of meetings. We completed our first regional TIME meeting today, which had 40 people on it from all aspects of county highway to towing and recovery. And as a result of this meeting, we have a training topic for our next meeting in the fall, which is going to be on delayed recovery. So we identified that there is an issue there. The feet on the street are identifying communication and coordination types of issues. So we're going to be addressing that in a presentation in the fall. This just gives you a little bit of, how we've responded in Wisconsin to COVID. And these are our regional TIME meeting trainings. And as you can see, in years past, we've traveled done 27 different meetings across all regions, got close to 500 people. But because now we've gone virtual, we did 16 meetings in 2020 and reached out to 509 participants. So we're seeing some more efficiencies. We're actually seeing a nice response from individuals that understand and are able to participate more in these meetings, and we're averaging 32 a meeting versus back in 2017 we were averaging 18 people at a meeting. So very moving forward, the frontline people like this, although they are really hoping that we get back to face-to-face in classroom types of presentations in meetings. I think they just all got hooked on Dave Spakowitz providing them with great donuts each and every time. So, and then let me just talk briefly about outreach and how we get down to the feet on the street. We offer TIM training for non-traditional transportation trades. So we'll go out and we'll, if a particular trade like a plumber's trade or a specific lines trade or whatever gets a hold of us, we'll go and give them a shortened TIM version training and then encourage them to take the 4-hour program. We're really big at vendor booths at first responder conferences, but as you can imagine across this country, conferences are somewhat frozen or were canceled so far this year. But we love going to our conferences for our towing and county highway, fire chiefs, police chiefs. We have a MABUS, mutual aid box alarm conference. We go to all these types of things as a vendor to promote our program. And then most recently, Marquis has been doing some rural versus urban TIM presentations on both a state level and also a national level. So the last thing I just want to briefly talk about is our newsletter that goes out quarterly. And this particular newsletter is loaded full of all kinds of information. Our partners from the Time Coalition write the vast majority of the articles in here. And our distribution list is over 7,500. So we are getting the message out. If they can't get to a regional time meeting, at least they can take the time to look at a newsletter. So we are looking at all kinds of different approaches to reach the feet on the street. We don't forget about our urban area individuals. We are currently working with Madison and Milwaukee fire departments to have them do TIM training across the board. But as you can imagine, these larger agencies, they have priorities that they would like to put into place. But it's our goal to let them know that TIM isn't just used on our interstates, our state highways, and our U.S. Highways. They should be utilized on local roadways, and getting that message to them in this particular fashion is one of our great goals for the next couple of years. So for myself or Marquis, are there any questions that anybody would have?
Yeah, Mike, thanks very much. Any questions, we'll wait till the end to answer. But for your questions, just put them in the chat pod, and then we will, Mike and Marquis can answer them, or with a note, and or we will have a live as long as we don't run out of time. So thanks, Mike and Marquis. Good presentation and good examples of how to reach out to the locals. You guys are doing a great job. I loved hearing that you guys are providing the training to the county highway departments in particular, but a lot of great examples of how you can engage the locals there. Thanks very much. What we're looking for today. So next up is the City of Seattle with Sonia Palmer and Patricia Westick. And some very interesting approaches to TIM at the local level. So with that, I think I'm passing it to Sonia. Is that right?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about our City of Seattle Traffic Incident Management and our local SDOT Seattle Department of Transportation Response Team program. We will also touch on our capabilities. We'll look at our data, and at the end we'll talk about the SAJOG team. All of our work is geared, and we work under the umbrella of our mission and vision for Seattle and DOT, and we're committed to our core values of equity, safety, mobility, sustainability, livability, and excellence. Just a little bit of background. 27% of Seattle's land is made up of streets, sidewalks, and other transportation-related public space. Seattle has unique geography, and our space is limited to move people and goods. As you can see, we're surrounded pretty much by water on both the west and east side of Seattle. Across, right straight in the middle, that blue line is I-5 and runs north and south, and just to the west of it is State Route 99, for which the City of Seattle has portions where we're responsible for. We have approximately 3,954 lane miles of streets, so it's critical to keep them clear at all times. Back in March of 2015, at the start of the evening commute, there was an overturned tractor trailer on SR 99, which caused about a 9-hour traffic delay. As you can see, the whole roadway was blocked, and pretty much the city was brought down to a standstill with gridlock. This resulted in a change in our procedures and getting staff trained on TIM principles. So at that point in time, we only had 5 responders on the team, and they were not available 24/7. So one of the first things that we did was that we shifted personnel and added some temporary personnel to have responders available all day around the clock. In order to keep the city moving, additional incident management capacity was needed to fully implement the new TIM program that was adopted by City Council resolution. So in 2017, we actually received additional funding to augment the team on a permanent basis. Again, this program is at the city level and concentrates on the local roads. We added additional responders and actually a dedicated supervisor, Patricia, who will speak in a minute. And we also added a dispatcher and more vehicles to our fleet.
Hi, this is Patricia. How are you guys all today? So this is now the SDOT Incident Response Team. Our motto is safely clearing roads and helping people. What we are is we actually are combined of a service patrol and an incident response. We do everything at the same time. Some programs have just one or the other, but we do combine both. And we follow it like everyone else, the national unified goal, the NUG for responder safety, quick clearance, and our communications. We work together with our partners in attending the 4-hour TIM training, and this brings different partners such as PD, fire, towing, as we all know, into the same room. Arterial incident response is a new concept here in Seattle, so it was really good. I noticed when we first started doing some of these classes, a lot of the questions were good in trying to explain what it was we do. and now when they see us out there, they're really happy that we are here. So again, this is our response mission is to maintain operational readiness to respond and expedite to safe clearance. I'm going to go through the slides pretty fast, everyone, so we can kind of keep within our time. You'll get a copy so you can see. But again, we work with Seattle Fire, Police Department. We all work under NIM, so we make sure that we are all communicating together, because that is our primary focus, is communication, working together, getting these roads open. We also work with WASH.IRT, again on State Route 99, especially with the new tunnel that just opened. You know, when they need help, they call us, or if they're not there, we kind of help them out. But this is one thing, WASH.dot and S.dot, we're working together for the two units to be able to coexist and help each other out on calls. So this is just kind of an operational overview of our org chart of where we sit, just so you guys have an idea. Right now, SRT does respond. We report to our director. So again, everyone knows TIM program. We work under the MUTCD. Incident response works under 6I. I was very careful. If you noticed in the pictures of the trucks, the pink sign that is showing here, there's a reason why we have that. Again, this was a new concept to Seattle, and a lot of them didn't understand what 6I was. So this kind of just reminds everyone that when they see these trucks in the pink, that's what we're there for. You know, 6I gives us the maneuverability within our traffic control plans. We don't have to have traffic control plans, and this is what helps us with that. There's times that we just have to make things up on the fly, but we follow this book as close as that we can. We do know that we work with our traffic shop, that when we're extended and we need some extra help, extra traffic control, they come out and help us. It's been really good. In the education and the experience that the guys are getting is been phenomenal. So as part of the TIM program, we collaborate with our TOC, our Transportation Operations Center, and other areas you call it the Traffic Management Center. Our TOC is responsible for the general operation of the city street system. And actually, when something happens, the TOC updates our Twitter account, our traveler's information map, and our dynamic message signs, which are mounted all over the city. The radio dispatchers and the TOC maintain close collaboration. And actually, due to COVID, one of the things that we started doing is that we're using Microsoft Teams to augment that communication, and they can actually chat and communicate right on the spot. Both of these centers operate 24/7. We also have on-call managers who are available after hours and on weekends. They're rotated weekly, and they provide additional support, and they can handle escalations and help request additional resources from other agencies. Also, Patricia, the supervisor, she works afternoons for greater supervisory coverage. The TOC uses a group text to inform managers who are on call of any incidents, especially on arterials or even on I-5, our interstate, that may impact the city streets. So what's different between with the arterial and how we're a little bit different from the freeway system is a lot of freeways, you've got one way on each side and you've got a divided freeway. A lot you don't, but most of the freeways are divided. When you look at arterials, we have a lot that our roads are not divided. We have a two-way left turn lane. We also got to deal with intersections, which now we're dealing with 4 lanes of traffic coming into an incident at one time. It gets kind of dangerous, and again, you have to have your head on a swivel. We have some other challenges too. We've got bike lanes, protected bike lanes here that are protected by cement barriers. We have light rail, streetcar, and the freight train crossings all over the city, plus a lot of the pedestrians. You got visitors. The downtown area is just congested normally outside of what's going on now with COVID-19. We have a lot of signalized intersections, the movable bridges because of boating and everything, a lot of bridges that move side to side or up and down. Also, with a lot of construction, a lot of steel plates are in the roadways. And here in Seattle, I'm sure a lot of you know that there's a lot of demonstrations here. So almost every day there's some kind of demonstration going on here. So it does present a lot of challenges. Some additional challenges is some of our roads are only 8 feet wide, and with our residential streets, they're already small, but when you have people parking on both sides, it gets really tight, and we still have to be able to respond within a timely manner and safely to get there. So we run into a lot of challenges here in the city. For our training, again, we do the 4-hour TIM training. For here for Washington with WashDOT, we got together with Katie Belmore, and we've actually modified the PowerPoint presentation to include arterials. A lot of times I've heard with all the training since I've been involved with this is, well, it doesn't affect the cities, it's always a highway. Well, it does affect the arterials, and what a lot of people don't understand is that they're basically the same. You know, you have rural response plus you have the highway. The cities are just the same. So we got together, and our program now, or our training, does include some of these photos, some examples of how it does affect arterial as well as highway, and there's been some good response to that. Some other the training, again, is we go through driver's training. We go down to the State Patrol in Shelton, and we do the training with IRT. Again, this is a team building for the two agencies to work together, which has been pretty positive. They go through the flagger training. When I came on board, I had all responders go through the traffic control supervisor training. This is just so give them some more addition from the 6I with the MUTCD, and also understanding traffic control plans, and if they have to make one up, or so they have an understanding. We have to go through the hazmat awareness level. Once a year they take the training. We just keep up on it. First aid, and of course the NIMS. They were only doing the 1, 2, and 7. I included the 800. And then again, we all do after action meetings on large events. We get together and again, what worked, what didn't, what can we do better? Here is just an example of some of the capabilities that we respond to. It doesn't list all of them. Some of them you guys will recognize. There's some things here that are a little bit different. We respond to a lot of trees. Sometimes we help out our signal group. We'll go out there and verify if our signals were having problems. We'll fill potholes on an emergency basis. What you're looking at the picture, at the bottom picture, is it's called a Go Jack. So we've been using this. It's something that goes around the tire, and we can jack up the tire. So now we can actually push the vehicle out of the way with our hands. If this works on places where we can't really get our trucks behind them, and all the trucks carry these, and it's worked out really well. It was a good addition to the team to have these put on here. So I won't go through all of them to save some time, just you guys be able to review this.
So we get calls at the dispatch center from all different areas. We get the TOC calling us, SPD, so fire, police, constituents, our partner agencies, and sometimes even the TOC will observe through monitoring equipment. The radio dispatchers are responsible for using the radio to dispatch the responders to the scene and provide all information that's pertinent. We actually switched our radios to 800 megahertz to have greater capability, and they can hear each other because, as you saw, Seattle's kind of long and skinny, and we couldn't talk from the south end to the north end. So 800 megahertz allow us for greater capability to do that, and also the trucks can listen to the PD radio as they're sitting waiting for to get a call. The responders get on site, they assess what is going on, and they work with police and fire if they're on site, or whoever else is acting as incident commander. They provide updates regularly to the TOC and to our dispatch office, and if the incident is expected to last longer than 90 minutes, then the manager on call is engaged. The other thing that the responders do is that they take photographs and share them. Some of them are utilizing Microsoft Teams to share that, which is great because then everybody can see it at the same time. And they utilize dispatch to request additional resources as needed.
Okay, so our trucks they are considered emergency vehicles, authorized emergency vehicles. They do go through a process through WSP where they do have red and amber lights. Here in Washington, they are not allowed to have blue lights, so we just run with the red and ambers. All drivers have to go through an FBI check to make sure that they fall within the ability to be able to drive one of these vehicles. There are certain instances where they can use them, where they can't, which is specified in here, especially if they go in the right lane. We need to make sure they just use short bursts of their sirens. As we all know that we're trained to go right when we hear sirens, so this is why it's just short bursts, short spurts. They cannot run red lights. They cannot run stop signs. They have to obey all traffic laws. And also, they also are part of the authorized emergency vehicles portion of the RCW is that the foregoing provision shall not relieve the driver of an authorized emergency vehicle from the duty to drive with due regard for the safety of all persons, nor shall such provisions protect the driver from the consequences of his reckless disregard for the safety of others. This is something we drive home with every person, whether they're new, they've been on for a while. We always want to make sure that they are aware of this and what they can and cannot do. It is for the safety of everyone involved. There are some exceptions that the responders can and cannot do. When there's a burning vehicle, we don't want them anywhere near it. They also, if there's an active shooter, they don't go anywhere near it. If there's any hazardous materials above what they're trained or can handle, we leave that to the professionals, and also bomb threats. Part of which is good as having the 800 radio is that we can also hear what SPD is doing and what's going on, as well as our dispatch. So sometimes we'll get called to a call, but then we can hear that there's an active shooter going on, so we can pull them back. So that's part of another reason why we went to the 800 megahertz. So the next ones are just going to be a couple things of us in action. Kind of give you an idea, this is West Seattle Bridge. This truck right here was in the far right lane when the vehicle to the left of it decided to exit right in front of it. This is the aftermath. This response included SRT, it included our maintenance and operation division, it included our roadway structures because of the center median, the damage to this. It took, we had to bring up a big truck sander full of grease sweep mixed with sand to try to take care of all this diesel on the roadway. It didn't help that it rained that day, so it kind of hindered operations a little bit. But because we all worked together, we were able to get this roadway, at least one lane going each way, open quicker, and we were actually able to open the freeway a lot sooner than had we not worked together. And this is the part where the TIM training and everything comes into play, and it worked really well that day. This is just another couple examples of what we've got to deal with on city streets. As you can see in the second picture, we have a lot of hills here, so we have a lot of up and down with roadways. So it becomes a problem when we have all these diesel spills. And just some more examples of some arterial traffic control and some things that we can do. And
Thanks,
this one is
Patricia.
just an example
We
of
need to wrap this up, Patricia.
Yep, we're almost done. Yep, I'm just kind of.
Yeah. I want to make
just
sure we get to
blasting
the
through
last
them,
speaker.
Yep. So pretty much it's just some data that we have in here. And again, our next accomplishments is we're just working to build on this and our next steps and then to move forward.
So the last piece, I'll go quickly, is the Seattle Area Congestion Management Joint Operations Group that was created after a couple of major incidents which resulted in traffic detouring onto city streets. And it became clear that we needed to focus on congestion management as well as TIM. You're going to hear more about it next month when Tony Langland comes in and talks to you about the VCC, our Virtual Coordination Center. So I know we're out of time, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, Patricia. We just went a little long there, and I want to make sure we get our last speaker in, and we just are really out of time. So thank you so much. Good presentation. I really like the idea of knowing and hearing about the different challenges that we don't think about. I'm a highway guy typically in my old days in Massachusetts. So that's something I think we need to be sharing with the nation as we focus on arterial, some of these unique challenges. So thanks again, ladies. Appreciate it. Next up is Camille Fountain, who for a long time has been a TIM champion, and so has the North Texas Council of Governments. And one thing I did want to share is the training that they do. I think she maybe going to talk about today was a basis for the national responder training. The person that developed that training, the TIM training, and for that Council of Governments, also participated strongly with us for the national training. We've changed it quite a bit, but that was certainly the concept behind it. So with that, Camille, if you don't mind taking it from here.
All right, thanks, Paul. I'll try to stay on time here. I'll give a couple minutes for questions. All right, good afternoon, everyone. So as Paul mentioned, I'm Camille Fountain, the Regional TIM Coordinator at the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and I'll be talking about our Traffic Incident Management Program today. So a little about the North Central Texas Council of Governments. We're the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the 12 counties highlighted here in the black border. We serve 209 cities within those, and 13 cities have populations of over 100,000, so a fairly large area. About our Traffic Incident Management Program, the program actually began back in 2003 and was featured as a best practice for the Integrating Safety with Management and Operations by Federal Highways Transportation Safety Planning Working Group. So there are 3 training tracks for our program. We have our first responders and managers training that Paul mentioned as being a basis for the model. And that one is a 2-day training geared towards all first responders, so boots on the ground. That training is eligible for TCOL, Fire Commission credit, and Department of State and Health and Services EMS CEUs, which we have to apply for. We also have our executive level training, which is a 2-hour course, and it's geared towards policy and decision makers. This is where we kind of get the buy-in for our regional program by coordinating and working with those executives. It gives them a high-level overview of what's covered in the 2-day training. And then we also have our crash reconstruction training, which is geared towards police officers actively involved in incident management. So all of our training are offered at no cost to our regional partners, the crash reconstruction workshops as well. Officers receive the training and equipment at no cost to their agency. And then this is just a screenshot of our regional TIM training video. It just highlights our regional program, somewhat of a marketing video. We show it at our executive level training to really push the importance of incident management training to those who know it's important but may not know exactly how important it really is. So if you have about 3 minutes, you can copy that link and take a look at it there. And so our regional need for incident management training, you can see the crash pyramid here that shows a total of 108,948 total crashes. 35,992 injury crashes, and 758 fatal crashes in 2020. So we know there's a problem. And then if you take a look at, on average, the number of responders who show up to work any of these crashes, you may have at a minimum 2 law enforcement, 4 fire, 2 emergency medical services, 1 tower, and that's 9 responders, being potentially 45 responders working in or near moving traffic every hour of every day. So very sobering when you take into account that this is where the responders spend the majority of their time working. As you can see, looking at the pyramid. So looking at an overview of our attendance at our training, at the 2-day first responders training, we've trained 3,266 first responders. That training is held 6 times a year. Our 2-hour executive level training, we've trained 1,083 executives, and that training is held twice a year, in the spring and in the fall. And then our crash reconstruction training, which we previously funded photogrammetry technology. We've trained 230 officers who also received the crash equipment and training. And we're currently looking at other crash reconstruction technology to fund for our next endeavor. So our incident management resolution policy, our policy was originally adopted in March 2003, updated in October of 2008, and added to our MTP policy bundle in 2016. Major components of the policy include, you can see here, support of quick detection and clearing of traffic incidents, participation in training, enhanced GIS incident location systems, a uniform policy that allows the removal of property that blocks roadways, local adoption of a tolling ordinance with time specifications, and adoption of strategies that promote quick clearance. So we have template policies available for the agencies to take back to their agencies, adapt, and then adopt. We also released our incident management commitment level survey. I know it's very hard to see here, but it just shows some of the questions we asked in our survey to gauge our members' commitment to incident management. So we asked things like adoption of our TIM policy that I just discussed, participation in training, participation in not just training but recent training. We're always updating our material and pushing those agencies that haven't sent someone, or that have sent someone, but it's been a while, to send them back through the training. And so I'm also looking at the agency's tracked COGS regional standard performance measures, if they're collecting and monitoring response and clearance times, having an abandoned vehicle policy that allows for towing, and stuff like that. We had our 2020 equipment purchase call for projects, which was actually our second incident management call that we released. The purpose was to assist in purchasing equipment and technology to help with quick clearance and traffic mitigation. It supports the current incident management training recommendation to use best practice equipment and technology. And then a little more information on it. The eligible recipients were public sector partner agencies within our non-attainment area, actively involved in incident management. Some of the examples of eligible equipment were cones, flares, PPE, signs, radio equipment. Personnel and staffing charges were ineligible, as well as vehicle purchases due to Buy America compliancy. We also didn't allow Opticon systems due to air quality concerns, and also drones due to recent federal legislation relating to China were also ineligible. Looking at our scoring criteria, we gave 15 points for incident management attendance at our training classes, 10 points for crash data in their jurisdiction, another 10 points for adoption of an incident management resolution, 5 points for having incident management goals and targets in place, 5 points for completing the incident management commitment level survey I mentioned, and 5 points if they had adopted the regional performance measure standard definitions, and then 50 points were given to the explanation of how the equipment would be used to mitigate traffic crashes. And so in summary, with the first call, we funded a little over $1.7 million in funded traffic control equipment, responder safety gear, messaging boards, radio equipment. And with the second call, we funded a little over $1.2 million, funded a lot of similar equipment from the previous call. We did also fund some crash data recovery kits, video management systems, also funded some roadside assistance equipment and towing and recovery equipment. And so as part of a separate pilot project that was associated with the call, we also funded some crash attenuators, the kind of Scorpier blocking equipment. So we funded four blockers for 3 different agencies, totaling $132,000. And the pictures here are just from one of the agencies we funded. The Grand Prairie Fire Department, we funded 2 blockers that they attached to their fire engine, which they noticed were getting hit increasingly, and motorist injuries were also more severe when involving those. So that's just an example of those blocking equipment funded. So just some upcoming TIM trainings and meetings. We do have our in-person training dates through the rest of the year shown here. We did coordinate with our Training and Development Institute as well as with our instructors on continuing with the in-person training in light of COVID restrictions. We developed a safety protocol consisting of the regular, temperature checks, masks, rooms with adequate space for social distancing. We looked at adjusting our tabletop exercises where there isn't really sharing between the participants, and felt comfortable with keeping the first responder training in person. So as you know, a lot of the multidiscipline approach to the training, kind of the feedback between participants and instructors, and just the effectiveness can be lost with virtual. So we tried to keep the training in person specifically for our 2-day training for the first responders. And then we do have our executive level course training dates shown here for the spring and the fall. We've elected to provide the 2-hour executive level training virtually. So the upcoming May 6th course will be virtual for the 2nd time, but we're planning or hoping to get back to in-person training for our executives in the fall for the November course. And then also listed here are Dallas area TIM meetings, which are held monthly, the next meeting being on May 11th. Going into another aspect, our Regional Roadside Assistance Program, also known as our Courtesy Patrol. This program just provides assist for Dallas and Tarrant counties, the North Texas Tollway Authority, and LBJ and North Tarrant Express managed lane operators. So this slide, you can just see some summary information here. You can see the assist types provided, driver assistance, install vehicles, crash assistance, debris removal, protection to first responders, abandoned vehicles, checks, and for a total combined assist of $123,849 for 2020. This slide shows our coverage map for the program and just a comparison of the number of assists, which due to COVID we did expect to decrease by agency for 2019 to 2020. And we're continuing to evaluate the expansion of the program and are coordinating with TxDOT and county sheriff's offices on that. This slide, accordingly, we've recently started to track responders fatalities struck by statistics from respondersafety.com. So shown here is just a breakdown for the national stats, which unfortunately increased from 41 to 55 in 2020. We also saw the statewide analysis and then also for the COG region. The second table shows our Council of Government Roadside Assistance Patrol struck by non-fatality stats for our regional patrol agencies, and we collect this data directly from the regional providers. Lastly, going into another aspect, our Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Program is one of the largest inland ports in the nation. The North Central Texas region is the hub for freight movement, transfers, and distribution across the state and around the world. So due to the size of the commercial motor vehicles involved, crashes that involve the commercial motor vehicles have a major impact on the road operation and incident management, even if a fatality is not involved. So since one of the contributing factors for commercial motor vehicle crashes is that the vehicles are overweight and harder to slow down, the goal of our Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Program is to assist commercial vehicle enforcement agencies in conducting vehicle weight assessments and making the vehicles operating on the roadway safer. So this in turn helps to reduce the number of CMVs involved in roadway crashes. So you can see here just a summary of the number of CMV crashes in our region each year from 2015 to 2019, broken down by crash severity. So the goal, again, of the program is to reduce the number of crashes caused by the overloaded and unsafe commercial motor vehicles and protect our roadways and bridges from damage by enforcing compliance with the state laws. So we provided 25 sets of the portable weight enforcement scales and 2 separate training courses for our partner agencies. And lastly, we also have our commercial motor vehicle violations training for prosecutors and judges in law enforcement, which provides a better understanding of commercial vehicle regulations and licensing laws. It also assists in reducing the number of cases involving CDLs that are thrown out in court or that receive lesser penalties, and to reduce the number of repeat offenders operating within the region and to have a greater impact on the safety of the driving public. So you can see the next training schedule here, May 19th and 20th. And with that, I can breathe now. Made it to the end, tried to speed through a little bit. You can see the TIM team's contact information. And with that, I'll close and take any questions along with everyone else at the end. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Camille. Some thoughts on this one? Yeah, type your questions in there. And, you know, we're running rapidly out of time, but I have to comment on some of my favorites from this presentation. First and foremost, make your council of governments and your MPOs your friend, right? And why is that? Because they have money and they can do some of the things that Camille does. Now, most MPOs don't do that. There are a handful around the country that do things like that or different things that manage TIM programs. But you know, the marketing video, that is a great practice. I think that we should do more of. We try to do a few at the national level, but at the local level, it's even better, right, within your state. And I think we heard that a couple of times today. But we down in Camille's organization, they're doing it. But I think my favorite of all the best practices that you guys do is that executive level training. How much do we need that throughout this country? You know, get those, and those executives are constantly changing, right? They're constantly, you know, evolving. So to have that, and I think it's tied to funding, right, Camille? Don't they have to, in order to get some funding, they have to take that training? Is that right?
Correct. Yep. For our grants, yeah, we ask that they attend our training.
Right. So, and the whole point system for grants, right? That whole idea of tying. You want some of our money. You have to do these some of these points. You have to, you know, we're going to assess it based on the point system. That is a great idea as well. So I appreciate that and all the good things you guys have been doing down there for years now. So the slides are in the download pod. I know we had some questions, and as a reminder, this webinar, what are we on? Webinar is recorded, and it usually takes a week or two before it's posted on the NOCO website, but it is available if you want to share with anybody else, and we encourage you to do that. We actually get a lot of hits that we didn't realize until we started pulling the numbers that we get a fair amount of hits. So before we close, I'm going to, Jim, is there anything you wanted to share? We're running out of time here.
No, Paul, just echo everything you just said times 1,000, and thank everyone for all this great work. Keep doing it. Thanks.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff, and we had a lot of good information today. If there is any other questions or anything else we can do, let us know. I see Chuck Yachts is just saying, he's agreeing with me, which he usually does, is saying that the Philadelphia region MPO is a great TIM champion as well, coordinates many teams in that area. So make them your friend is what I'm telling you. Make them, hook them, get them hooked. So with that, I don't see any more questions, but if you anytime you have questions for Jim, Joe, and I, please feel free to reach out to us. With that, we'll close it up. See you next month. We have a whole great agenda planned for you next month, and look forward to seeing you all again. Thanks, everybody.